Hello, and welcome everyone to the ACF Labor Day Early Childhood Workforce live event. It is now my pleasure to turn the floor over to Assistant Secretary Julian Chang. Julian, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you, Glenna. Good afternoon, or to our friends on the West Coast, good morning. It's a great pleasure for me to join you all today. My name is Julian Chang, and I'm the Acting Assistant Secretary for the Administration for Children and Families here at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Thank you to everyone for joining us for this really important event that is designed to recognize the critical role of the early care and education workforce in nurturing and supporting the development of our nation's youngest learners. As we approach Labor Day, the early care and education workforce is well deserving a celebration and acknowledgement for the dedicated care, expertise, and hard work that all of you pour into young children every day. I want to especially note that during the pandemic, early childhood educators have been on the front lines to care for our young children, as well as older children doing virtual school. Your work has been critical to getting the economy back on track and ensuring that other essential workers can continue their work during the pandemic. I want to give a special thanks to all of our early childhood educators joining us today on the panel, as well as those joining us via the live stream. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank AFSCME, AFT, NEA, and SEIU for their help pulling today's event together and for joining us today. You know, the research is really clear. High quality early care and education during a child's first 5 years can have an important positive impact on the life of a young child. In addition, we know that the interaction between children and adults is the most critical component of a quality early learning environment. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to reshape our society, the early childhood workforce is essential not only to ensure children receive high quality care and education during their most formative years, but is also vital to the health of the nation's economy. Despite this important role, the early childhood workforce, which is disproportionately made up of women of color, often lack sufficient wages and benefits and struggle to find affordable childcare for their own children. I remember learning this fact many years ago, in fact, decades ago, as a young attorney at the Children's Defense Fund. I remember when I first heard that childcare providers often didn't make enough money to provide for their own children's care. I thought this was unacceptable and that it had to change. We cannot build toward a quality early childhood system that serves the needs of children and families without a well-supported workforce. This is a matter of respect and justice. The administration knows this and has proposed new investments in early childhood that recognize educators as the driver of quality early childhood care. We must have better policies in place to support fair wages and better working conditions. The good news is that we have made some progress towards securing resources to help early childhood providers address staff needs. The American Rescue Plan Act is providing urgently needed resources to support the early childhood sector during the pandemic and the recovery. It includes a $1 billion investment in Head Start and $39 billion for childcare, which includes $24 billion for a new childcare stabilization fund that provides grants directly to providers through states, territories, and tribal nations. In combination, the ARP funds can be used to recruit and retain staff, provide professional development opportunities, and cover temporary wage and benefit increases for the childcare workforce. ARP funds can be used to lay the foundation for a more stable, equitable, and higher quality early childhood system in the longer term. However, the early care and education workforce faces challenges that can't be remedied with a single federal investment. I'd like to now welcome three esteemed leaders at the Administration for Children and Families who oversee and administer critical ACF early childhood programs. It's a great honor to introduce you to Katie Ham, who is the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Early Childhood Development at ACF. She'll also introduce Dr. Bernadine Futrell, Director of the Office of Head Start, and Dr. Ruth Friedman, Director of the Office of Child Care. They will share with you more about the vision of the Biden administration for longer-term investments to support the early care and education workforce. Katie?
Thank you, Assistant Secretary Chang. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so happy to be here today to lift up the urgent need to invest in and stabilize our early child care and education workforce. Thousands of early care and education staff across the country do the important work every day of educating and caring for millions of our nation's infants and toddlers and preschoolers, as well as school-age children. I want to echo my thanks to our panelists today and to the labor unions that helped us pull this event together. I come to this as a parent and as a beneficiary of the amazing work that early childhood educators do every day. I have dropped my 4-month-old off at a childcare center while being comforted by his teacher. My son has attended preschool at our local elementary school, and I saw teachers go above and beyond to do virtual preschool, and he was duly enrolled in Head Start and our city's universal child preschool program. And I've seen a childcare provider open her home and her backyard to provide children with a fun and enriching experience after a really difficult year. So I think my personal experiences and my professional experiences really show what an incredible workforce that we have caring for young children and school-age children, and that quality occurs across all different types of settings. You're going to hear today from family childcare, from childcare centers, from a Head Start program, and from a school-based program. And we know when we think about how we built out an early childhood system that is responsive to the needs of children and families, that mixed delivery, allowing families to choose which program is best for them, is critically important. The President's Build Back Better agenda would invest billions of dollars in childcare and in preschool. And we know that that starts with a well-compensated, professional and supported workforce. We can't do this without making sure that we have the essential workers that care for our children and provide them with an early education. I'm really pleased to have the opportunity to introduce Dr. Ruth Friedman and Dr. Bernadine Futrell. Dr. Friedman directs the Office of Child Care, and Dr. Futrell directs the Office of Head Start. And I'd like to welcome them and give them the opportunity to make some remarks before we get started with our panelists. Dr. Friedman.
Thank you so much, Katie. Hello, everyone. It is my absolute pleasure to be here today to focus on the importance of the early childhood workforce, and most importantly, to have an opportunity to hear from providers. This administration, as you have already heard, deeply recognizes that the early childhood workforce is doing essential and skilled work every day to support children, families, their communities, and the broader economy. This workforce forms crucial relationships with children, caring for and teaching our youngest learners in foundational ways that impact children's long-term development and well-being. And this workforce provides a lifeline for parents who need care in order to work and can do so with the comfort of knowing their children are being valued while playing, learning, and being well cared for. Yet despite the critical role that the childcare workforce plays, childcare workers are among the lowest paid occupations in our country. Many early educators do not earn enough to pay to keep up with their monthly bills or to ensure they can provide sufficient food or other necessities in their own families. And many early educators must rely on federal assistance programs or work multiple jobs in order to make ends meet. In one of the richest nations in the world, this should not be the case. This administration believes strongly that this is unacceptable and that a serious change and commitment is long overdue. That's why President Biden's Build Back Better agenda will build on the momentum of the American Rescue Plan by providing a long-term path forward to support the early childhood field, and will include major investments in childcare, Head Start, and preschool across all settings for children birth to 5, and a proposed $450 billion early childhood investment over the next 10 years. Dr. Futrell?
Thank you so much, Dr. Friedman. Good afternoon and good morning, everyone. It's so wonderful to see how many of you have joined this conversation, this important conversation. I'm Dr. Bernadine Futrell, the director of the Office of Head Start and a proud graduate of the Head Start program. And in this moment, and always, a very proud former assistant teacher in Head Start in Richmond, Virginia. I welcome you, and I join Dr. Friedman and others in agreement that this conversation is one of many to really move us forward as we start to think about what it takes to have equitable access to high quality early childhood education programs across our nation, including Head Start, including childcare, and including preschool. And so because of that, this conversation is so helpful for us as we think about how to really implement and support President Biden's plan to really build us back towards a future where everyone has access in a universal model. I do want to lift up, as I open, just our commitment to supporting the workforce, particularly as we think about the wages. This plan includes a proposal for $15 an hour minimum wage for Head Start, preschool, and childcare workforce, long overdue. Additionally, it includes a proposal to have pay equity with educators with similar experiences as kindergarten teachers in public school settings. We think that's a huge leap forward. We also know there's a long way that we can go as we work together. So again, as we enter this conversation, I want to share that this is about equity. This is about getting us to a place where we are identifying inequities and addressing them head on. And when we talk about the workforce and we support the workforce, it's so important to make sure that the things are in place that we can do it together. So again, I want to thank all of the panelists for being a part of the conversation. I'm looking forward to listening and learning alongside you as we move forward together to advance the president's agenda. Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this time, I'd like to invite our panelists to join us. So we are honored to have a great panel with us today. I'm going to introduce them and then we will get into questions. So joining us today, we have Mary Curry she's a member of SEIU. She is also a family childcare provider in Washington State. We also have Thais Lawyer. She is president and CEO of Our House in Georgia. We have Darcel Leone, a member of AFSCME and a family child care provider in New York. We have Linda Monday, an AFT member and a pre-kindergarten teacher in West Virginia. We have Tabitha Rosbroy, who's a member of NEA. She's a preschool teacher in Kansas and also the Teacher of the Year. We're honored to have you all with us today. And finally, Mindy Zapata, an early Head Start and Head Start director in Arizona. Thank you all so much for being with us today. So we're gonna start with a question about why early childhood is so important and why the work that you all do is so important. As we all know from decades of research, learning really begins at birth and occurs through play and interactions that young children have with the adults in their lives. And that occurs across all the different settings that you all represent. I want you to tell us a little bit more about what quality early childhood programs look like. And Mary, I'm wondering if you can start by telling us from the family childcare perspective, what does quality early childhood look like?
Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity. As someone who's been working in early childhood education for the last 18 years in Tacoma, Washington, I can tell you that quality programs looks like two things. First, they look like our community, When I opened my program, Pathways Enrichment Academy, I wanted to help make sure the kids in my community had the clothes, books, and other resources they needed to learn and thrive. Childcare is very unique in that we are located inside our communities, and our communities are built around us, not the opposite. And secondly, quality early education looks a lot like the aspiration that we have for our country's future. We want to be a nation where every voice is respected. So quality early education programs teach children how to listen to their peers, learn about their lives, and celebrate each other's differences. We want to be a nation where every person can thrive no matter what they look like, where they come from, or what they do for a living. That means a quality early education program must not only teach children early language, art, math, science, and social skills. Good programs expose them to new experiences that support their education, as well as build a supportive community that includes their parents. I think that it's important to point out that if we want to ensure that every child has access to quality early education, regardless of their zip code, we must make investments in these programs and the workforce that provides them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And I would just invite each panelist as you speak, feel free to give us a little bit about your background and your role in the early childhood sector. Linda, I know you have been in the preschool space for a long time, so would also just love to hear your perspective on this topic as well.
Well, I also think that all that is important. Also, I think we need to have a strong curriculum so that the children learn, and it's all through play. And I've been teaching preschool for 30 years, and I just think that it's really important that I've seen so many changes over the years, and that I know that the children come in and they have such varying qualities and personalities and have different backgrounds, and I just like to try to get them to all learn from each other and include the parents in that, the learning, and having them come into my classroom and to work with their children in the classroom. So those are things I think really have a big quality in the child care program.
Thank you, Linda. And Mindy, you come at this from the Head Start perspective, and you have early Head Start and Head Start in your program. So you kind of see the birth to 5 spectrum. And Head Start has really kind of set the bar on quality. So tell us more about how you see this play out in your programs.
Yeah, so in Arizona, I think that it's a particularly exciting but also challenging time in early childhood education. And I think that the opportunity to really lift all boats with the American Families Plan could do transformational things in Arizona and across the country as we take a look at family home care provider settings, Head Start, preschool, school-based programs, where we're all leveraging a model of scarcity to try to deliver high quality early childhood practices in a way that we're infusing research and evidence. And as you indicated, Head Start has been afforded the opportunity to really serve as the laboratory for this important work to unfold. And I think it's particularly exciting that the American Families Plan could offer the opportunity to move from this model of scarcity into this model of what if. It's what, in my 35 years of Head Start, we've all been wishing and hoping for. And I hope that it comes to fruition, and that the colleagues that are on the panel today, that across our individual states and across this country, we can envision the reality that we want to have for high quality early childhood education for every child and family in this country.
Thank you so much. I love that notion of leaving that scarcity model behind and thinking about what we really need to provide high quality early childhood education across the country. One of the things that I always hear from early educators is just how much growth they see in children during these first few years. We know it's just an incredibly important time in development. And I always hear from kindergarten teachers that on day one, they can always tell which children have had the opportunity to get an early education. And we want to make that opportunity available to more children. So Tabitha, I'm wondering if you could tell us about your experiences and what kind of transformations do you see in young children when they're in early childhood programs?
Yeah, thank you so much. This is something that I love to talk about. I am Tabitha Rossbroy, preschool teacher and now turned early childhood support teacher, which is like an early childhood coach in a suburb of Kansas City. But I've been teaching for 12 years and have seen lots of transformation from our students. And this last year, right before the pandemic hit, I was named the 2020 National Teacher of the Year and the first preschool teacher to ever be awarded this honor, which lets me know that we're moving in the right direction, right? And giving early childhood educators the voice that they deserve. And I just want to take a minute before I answer this question to really recognize the absolutely vital contributions that all of you are making to our labor force and to our communities. And just the fact that we're invited to have this conversation and be a part of it today also lets me know that the tide is shifting in the right way for our early childhood programs. So one way that kids change in preschool and early childhood experiences is by growing in their social emotional skills. You know, we are giving kids the skills they need in order to access academic content. And in fact, one of my favorite researchers, Dr. Becky Bailey, always says that self-regulation is the missing piece in academic success. And I have absolutely seen evidence of that. You know, when kids come to a classroom like mine at 4 years old, and they're often starting from scratch at learning to interact with others and to be a good friend and to regulate their emotions in a productive way. You know, I've seen a classroom of students full of varying needs go to kindergarten with 100% of the students on age level or above in the area of phonemic awareness, because we were so intentional about that social emotional learning first and really made it a part of the fabric of our classroom and what we did every day. They were able to access those skills because of the skills and self-regulation that they had. Early childhood educators understand the importance of this more than most of our K through 12 counterparts, you know, for various reasons. And because of that, I think we're equipping our students with the problem-solving skills, the critical thinking skills that leads to academic success and excellence. So my hope is that by elevating the voice of early childhood educators like you, that we can encourage people in the older grades to have their own journey in social emotional education like we have. I have seen programs like Head Start and community-based preschools and public schools really offer support not only to students, but to their families. We know that childcare and preschool and early childhood education, it provides families with the opportunity to work and provide for their own families. So I've seen progress not only from my students, but I've seen progress with their families too. And, you know, just coming close together, you know, as our own sort of school family and extended school family really gives us the opportunity to serve our kids and the people that support them at home.
Thank you so much, Tabitha. I think that's a great point, that we're not just in early childhood, we're serving the whole family. So it's the parents, it's the family members, the siblings, and the child who's enrolled in the program that is really seeing the benefit of this. Darcy, I see you have a guest. So I want to also turn to you and just hear your perspective on this issue. Thanks so much to both of you for joining us.
Thank you. And I agree with everyone on this panel. This is a wonderful first step, I believe, in a conversation that is definitely long overdue. Childcare is essential. It's essential to our economy, to our country, and I think this is great. This is Gwendolyn, by the way. She's joining us today. Quality care for me, for daycare, most kids come in my daycare when they're infants. They stay with me till they go to school, either kindergarten and sometimes beyond. So we have a very mixed age group of children, and they learn from each other. They learn to negotiate. The older children teach the younger children. We validate and support when children aren't happy, want to say no, quiet time. They learn so much in daycare. It's usually, besides the parents, the first stop of any interaction outside of parents. And most kids are with us longer than they're with their own parents. I have kids in daycare that start at 6 weeks old that are here for at least 8 to 12 hours a day. So I am basically, and my staff, we're second parents to them. And what happens with that, they leave daycare learning their ABCs, negotiating skills, social skills. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be happy. We encourage creativity. We encourage their imaginations. We want all of that to work for them. We want them to go to kindergarten and to be ready, not just ready academically, that's important, but it's also important to be ready socially, to know how to interact with others. And that's how they leave daycare. And they leave daycare learning all the essentials they need and beyond. And I agree with someone who said, I've had teachers in our school district that they can always tell what child went to daycare. They can always tell. I've had parents come back and say to me, you know, the teacher said they were in daycare, right? Which daycare were they in? They could tell. It's a big difference when you start early, educating children at a very early age. And even an infant learns. We open up all their receptors and we encourage all of that.
Thank you so much, Darcy and Gwendolyn. You know, I think it's really, just to underscore, you and Tabitha both really talked about the socio-emotional development that is so important in early childhood and beyond. But I think especially in early childhood, we do a really good job of focusing on that. And it's really important that as we think about quality and as we think about early learning, that we don't limit that just to children's cognitive development, that we're thinking about the whole child and making sure that they have the socio-emotional skills to be successful. Linda, do you want to add on here and share your perspective?
Okay. I also wanted to say I am in a school-based site. I have Head Start, pre-K, and preschool special needs children all in my classroom. So, you know, we're doing all the different things with these kids, but we just treat them all as our children, and they're all just our kids. And I wanted to say too that I know, like, I'm in a school-based site, so I am paid what other classroom teachers are paid, but I have friends who teach at collaborative sites that are off the school-based sites, and they have to do all the same work that I am required to do, but they are not paid and have the benefits that I do. And I think that that is an important thing that this bill will help get that across, that we all should be paid. If we have a teaching degree, we should all be paid as teachers. Also, as far as the in the classroom, I have children come in who have never been away from their parents, who have never had expectations of them having to do for themselves and have self-help skills. And so a big thing I like to do is to try to give these kids independence, teaching them how to do things for themselves, how to open containers, how to go in the bathroom by themselves and take care of their self-help skills, and how to listen and just increase their behavior so that when they do go to kindergarten, they're able to sit and listen and do what is expected in a whole school day, because that is a real hard thing for so many of our children. And the academics are important, but the social things are so important, that they learn the social skills and how to get along with each other. And the teachers do say they can tell who have been in preschool, because the first day they're able to sit and listen and follow the directions. So that preschool is just so important for young children to attend.
Thank you so much. So Linda, I want to pick up on something you said, which is around wages. And as we said at the top, the Build Back Better agenda and the American Families Plan really does look at wages as one of the things in our current structure that has undermined the ability of people to stay in the sector and to have the workforce that we need to be successful. So when you think about what's in this plan, guaranteeing a living wage for all, what would fair wages mean to you and your colleagues? And what difference would it make in ensuring that children have access to quality preschool experiences. Thais, I'm going to turn to you to kick us off on this question.
Sure. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. And ditto to all my colleagues on this panel. You have all raised some really great points. You know, the Assistant Secretary mentioned in her opening remarks that higher and fair wages are first and foremost the right, the respectful, and the just thing to do. I am a Head Start graduate. My first job out of college was teaching 2-year-olds, and I've been in the early learning environment for over 25 years. And we have come a long way, and we still have so much further to go. The funding proposed in the Build Back Better proposal will allow us to offer fair and competitive wages in line with the importance of the work being done. It will be a game changer for early learning providers. It will be a game changer for children, for families, and the staff of early learning programs. It will help increase equity across our educational system. Many early learning providers already have the same credentials as public school educators, as Dr. Futrell noted in her comments. It will allow the early learning community to attract and retain the highest caliber of staff. And it'll allow that staff to provide more effectively for their own families. You know, they say in the airplane, put your mask on first before you help someone else with their mask. And this plan allows that to happen for early learning providers. It will allow us to increase the quality of care nationwide. A fair wage will create a more robust system of delivery, allowing us to keep talent, grow the talent pipeline, and deliver more consistently and effectively on our collective promise to our children and families, and increase positive outcomes in the communities. That's what this work is about. You know, you invest early in children so that as they grow, they can become productive citizens that they can contribute to our community environment. It is about more than just the wage an early childhood educator is making. It is about what do we value as a nation and as a community. And we value a strong community that has the skills needed to help us all grow.
Thank you so much, Thais. Darcy, I want to go back to you and Gwendolyn to weigh in on this topic, especially from the family childcare perspective, because I know that there are unfortunately differences in pay across the sector, and family childcare is often not compensated in the way that it should be. So what are your thoughts on wages and how they play into quality early childhood programs?
Well, one of the biggest problems with that is that childcare costs is so high and the market rate is so low. If you average out to what an average childcare provider makes, it averages anywhere between $5 and $7 an hour. But in New York State, we're required to pay our staff right now $14 an hour. In December, that goes up to $15 an hour. We do not have a problem with that. Our staff deserves more than that. But we can't, it's hard to afford to pay that type of money when you don't make that type of money yourself. We don't make a decent living wage. And we would love to, like I said, to pay our staff that type of money, offer a 401k. And this hurts, we're essential workers, and this industry is made up mostly of women and people of color. And it really hurts us to the point that daycares are closing. And like Thais said, we're in the communities. We want children to be skilled when they come out of school, high school. We want kids to go to college, but it starts here with infancy. If we don't give them what they need now, where are they going to wind up when they get a little older, when they're teenagers? So I think this is a great plan, what our president wants to do. And I really feel that if this goes through, this would be a tremendous success for childcare. Because right now, with everything going on with childcare, a lot of daycares in our area closed right before the pandemic and a lot during the pandemic. So this is a big problem, and I would love to see this part change. You know, I have staff of 5, $14 an hour to each of them. I make about $6 an hour. And they deserve that. They deserve that and a lot more. But we're not able to do more than what we're required to do because of the way the system is set up. And quality care is the most important thing. I think, as this whole panel could agree, for all the children, we want quality care for the children. And to do that, we have to have quality staff and to be paid a decent living wage for the providers and our staff would be awesome.
Yeah, Darcy, yeah, you're right. Quality costs. In Georgia, the cost of infant care is more than the cost of technical school education. And still, providers are not able to pay their staff higher wages. So, you know, we're at this push-pull, and all of the stresses we were feeling before the pandemic were just exacerbated. And it is just a continuing struggle for us.
And it's the same here. I live on Long Island, which in New York State is probably one of the most expensive places to live in New York. And the market rate has not went up.
Yeah.
And also with our subsidy, that's based on gross pay, not net pay. And if a parent gets a raise, I've had parents get a 50-cent raise, they lose their daycare because they go above the poverty level, what's considered the standard to get subsidy. I mean, they don't even get a chance to even increase their parent fee. They lose it altogether. So who wants a raise if they're going to lose their daycare? But they're barely living. So, and it helps the economy all around. If parents have quality childcare and they work, they've put money back into the local economy. It goes without saying. It's like a no-brainer. You want to build the economy, stimulate the economy, have daycare, quality daycare. Let these parents go to work with peace of mind. Make money, they spend money back in their communities.
Exactly, Darcy. Thank you so much for putting such a fine point on that. Mindy, I know wages and benefits are always a topic of conversation in the Head Start program as well. So how are you thinking about wages and the potential to increase them in your program?
So this plan creates a transformational opportunity for our Head Starts in Arizona, Head Starts across this country, to really join in a unified way with the other early care and education providers that have been speaking to the issues. Certainly in Head Start, we're focused on providing services to families that are not unlike the family scenarios that we were just hearing highlighted about losing their benefits when they receive a wage increase at work. And so what I love about this plan, not only can we create retention and a pathway for the workforce that we engage across these settings in family home care, in Head Start, in school-based childcare. We want those professionals that are doing the most critical work in our society, in my opinion, in early care and education, to stay and not leave this most valuable work that they're doing. And in order for professionals to stay in Head Start and to stay in these other factions of our workforce in early care and education, we must pay a livable wage, and we must support the educational pathways for those individuals that are predominantly women. And it is truly an equality issue. It's ironic to hear the challenges in New York and in Georgia are very similar. In Arizona, our child care reimbursement rates are still at $19.95. I love that this approach to the comprehensive nature of not only supporting the livable wage, but the pathway to really address the true cost of quality, whether in a mixed delivery model, it's the true cost of quality delivered in Head Start, family home care setting, or school-based or other early care and education providers. Again, moving us from the place of competitiveness and scarcity into a sustainable solution, which children and families so richly deserve in one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Very excited about the potential to come.
Thank you so much, Mindy. I want to turn to a different question, but one that we've hit on a couple times, and that's the importance of mixed delivery. Parents have a lot of different needs, whether it's to make sure they can find a program that meets their work schedule, to stay with siblings, the other services offered in a program. What the Build Back Better plan does is really make sure that both preschool and childcare are mixed delivery, and that includes family childcare, childcare centers, public schools, and Head Start. So I want to just get your thoughts on why mixed delivery is important for the children and the families that you work with. And Tabitha, I'm wondering if you can go ahead and kick us off.
Yeah, sure. You know, as been mentioned before by several of my colleagues on this call, is that research does tell us that brains are developing most rapidly in those pivotal years from 0 to 5. So we know that it's critical that we reach children. And we also know that just like in schooling from K through 12, we reach children and we reach families differently based on their needs. So what we have to do is sort of think about our funding in a different way. Like it needs to go to families in a way that works for their family, to schools in a way that works for their family, or to any early childhood education setting. And that's because we know that kids who have access to an early education program thrive later in school. Kids who have access, again, to quality early childhood programs that we fully fund and that have educators who are trained and are coached and are doing the best that they can with the resources that they have. We know these kids are going to be less likely to repeat a grade later on, to require special education, to need child welfare services, to engage in activities that might be maladaptive later in life, and eventually you're going to make higher incomes than those of their peers that didn't attend a high quality early childhood education program, which really sets their family on a track for success long-term and generational success. But what we have to realize is that there's an alarming disparity in the pay between early childhood educators from state to state and program to program. And so that's something that this Build Back Better is going to help us address and let us be more, just more cohesive as a country worldwide. Like so often we think about, what do I need to do for my students or my kids in my home? But that no longer can be how we think about the kids in this country. We have to think about them as a whole. They are our kids in our community and our world, and we want all of them to have the same access, the same opportunity to access quality early childhood education. And did you know that most communities don't offer any free early childhood education experience? You know, I speak specifically about 3 and 4-year-olds a lot when I speak, because that's the age group, right, that I work with the most. And there are 5 million 4-year-olds in the United States, and only 1.5 million of those 4-year-olds get a free pre-K program. So that means that we have 3.5 million students and their families that are potentially underserved. And so often we talk about kindergarten readiness. You know, it's a term that we hear frequently used in legislative sessions and in the news and in our own conversations in our communities. And kindergarten teachers do report that learners are more socially and academically ready for kindergarten when they have an early childhood program or experience. And that is one important thing that we can do for kids in their formative years. And I don't want to discount that with the next thing that I'm going to say. But families cite a lack of early childhood experience that works for their family as a major hurdle to their success right now. Okay, so not in kindergarten or not later. Families are focused on what they need to do to survive this pandemic and their own job loss, their own issues with their own income. And so we need to do something right now, not only looking forward, but to provide them for what their immediate needs are. And when we look at the needs in our country, it's important to note that quality early childhood programming can help address all of the outcomes that our country hopes to improve. Research backs it up, everyone on this call backs it up, and we can do that for families when we work together.
Thank you so much, Tabitha. That was inspiring. I really appreciate that. It's a good reminder that free public early childhood education is not the norm. Mary, I want to turn to you next, especially to just talk about why is it so important that family childcare be part of a mixed delivery system?
Thank you again. I think, first of all, I want to say that I am a proud member of SEIU 925 local in Washington State, which gives us a united collective voice. We not only just represent family childcare, but family, friends, and neighbors. and we just link arms across the state. So if we want a great nation, we must invest in our children from birth. Congress should help support this high quality program by making sure that payment rates cover the true cost of quality care. For family childcare homes like mine are essential for low income families of colors, because we are based in community people who live there. Some parents choose us because we are positive role models. We tend to offer more care options for essential workers and parents working non-traditional hours. Our workforce, which is largely occupied by Black and Brown women, must also have a stronger voice. Advocating for early learning is not just something we do, it's something we live. Years ago, I joined SEIU Local 925 because I saw how unionized providers supported each other and shaped policy across Washington state. And sadly, many states make it harder for childcare providers to have a seat at the table. It's time to up workplace laws so that we can better advocate for our children in our care. We are educators and how children develop, and we should have input in decisions about safety standards, training, and funding. We also need to make childcare more affordable for all families and to make working and staying in this industry more sustainable for childcare providers. That higher pay, sick retirement benefits. This is especially important to care providers and families we provide care for, which are hurting. During the COVID pandemic, my program went from 14 students down to 4. Money came so tight that I lost both of my assistants. I now have to work from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. each day to set up and do the additional cleaning required by COVID. It doesn't matter how long I work, my pay is the same. The American Rescue Plan has helped me and other childcare providers in Washington state win important investments, including a cost of care rate enhancement for the 2023 fiscal year. But these are just temporary improvements. We are continuing to fight for lasting improvements to our system. The investment we make in our children today will not return void. To build a better future for our communities, we need this administration to invest in a system that works for childcare providers and the children and families who count on us.
Thank you so much, Mary. These are such inspiring answers. Thais, we're almost at a time, but hoping you can kind of have the last word and bring this home. Why do you think mixed delivery is so important here?
Sure. We all know no two children are alike, so it stands to reason that no two families are alike. The desires, the needs, and the barriers they're facing are different for every family. So our service delivery system needs to be a robust mixed delivery system capable of working with all types of family need to educate children and support their families. You know, to echo some of the other things folks said, we know that children who experience high quality early learning environments do better longer term in life. Educational attainment, income across their lifespan, and they're, again, better able to participate in community. Investing in early childhood programs is just that, an investment in our collective future. You know, numerous studies have shown that there's a return of investment as high as $12 per dollar invested in early learning. So as the saying goes, it's the biggest no-brainer in the history of the world. If I told you if you gave me $1 today and I'd give you $13 on Friday, wouldn't you give me that $1? So Tabitha eloquently talked about systemic and equitable approach. Imagine where we could be as a community, as a nation, if we were all moving together toward the same goals as it relates to educating young children birth to 5, the most critical time in their development.
Thank you so much. I would give you that $1, Thais. Darcy, were you hoping to jump in with one last final thought here?
Yes, I just want to say, this is an investment in our children. It's, it takes a village. It's an investment in our children. We talk about, everyone listens to the news, the media, and you see what's going on in the world with some teenagers and stuff. It starts here and it starts now. I like what Mary said, a unified front, which her union helped. Our union did the same thing. CSCA Voice 100A in New York. We got together, we gathered, and it made a difference with childcare providers. This grant, the stabilization grant we just received, this is awesome. We are so unbelievably grateful, but it's still just a Band-Aid to a bigger problem that needs to be solved.
Thank you so much, Darcy. Well, I just want to thank all of our panelists. You all have been amazing. Your expertise, your insight is so helpful. I want to thank you as a parent and as someone in the early childhood space. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all the work you are doing. Happy Labor Day. We hope you get Monday off. And I will turn it over to Assistant Secretary Chang for some concluding thoughts.
Thank you, Katie. I also just want to give a very special thanks to Mindy, Tabitha, Thais, Linda, Darcy, Darcy's beautiful granddaughter, and Mary for making time to join us and to have this really rich conversation, but just also for your passion, for your willingness to fight for a better and just and equitable system. It made me feel more hopeful to know that our children are not only in safe hands, but in your hands. And I think all of our other educators who are on this conversation for the really self-sacrificing work that you do, for the joy and hope that you bring to this work. And I just want to close by saying, you know, it is time for a change, right? We know what the right thing to do is. We have said how essential early childhood and early childhood development is. We know that as educators, you are the foundation of our children's future learning and living possibilities. And it is time to put our money where our mouth is. Thais, I would give you that dollar in spades. We support you. We are behind you. And we look forward to continuing to work with each and every one of you moving forward. Happy Labor Day to people who deserve it more than anyone else. Thank you for all that you are doing. Have a great afternoon.